Welcome back to Penatchie Productions. Real quick before this one starts, just kind of want to lay out something real quick. This video was filmed last April during turkey season, but we wanted to release it kind of leading up to turkey season for 2025. So it's just kind of a calling tutorial. When I like to call, when I don't like to call, when I like to call using what. Um, just kind of give you a basic idea of turkey calling 101. And again, I say it in the video, I'm not the greatest caller by no means, but I am good enough to call to kill turkeys. So that's really what matters at the end of the day. So um, yeah, I just want to kind of come in here and talk about that real quick. I do plan on doing a longer video like this before turkey season. Maybe 30, 40 minutes worth of calling and tips and that kind of thing with slate calls, box calls, mouth calls, you name it. Um, with Will, just kind of sitting down and talking about everything and, giving a more in-depth kind of calling tutorial for y'all. So hope you're excited as we are. We're certainly excited for turkey season and can't wait to get after them. So hope y'all enjoy. All right, so real quick, just kind of talking about some calling real quick. I love turkey hunting, and second to turkey hunting, I love turkey calling. I I remember being a young kid, I don't know, 6, 7, when Will first started turkey hunting, and I wanted to try to put a mouth call in and call with it, and I couldn't do it at all. I couldn't even make a noise with it. Fast forward now, I'm blessed to be able to call decent. Certainly not the best, nowhere close to being the best, but I can call decent enough to kill a turkey, and that's what you wanna look for at the end of the day. Excuse my messy hair, but anyways, just kind of talking about real quick, some tips I could give is first started calling, I really didn't know what I was doing. Kind of picked up on other people what they were doing and tried to mimic it, and it didn't go well. Really didn't get as good as I am calling now, as I didn't get as good calling as I was 2 years ago. 2 years ago is kind of when I started really taking it a little more serious. Kind of wanted to start sounding better, what I was. So the main thing I started doing is I took different calls and just tried them in my mouth. Some calls work better in other people's mouth, and you just got to find the call that fits your mouth right. For example, this is the Pinhoti Purple Ghost, my favorite call. It's made by Dave Owens with the Pinhoti Project. But if I was to put in a Woodhaven Ghost Cut, I wouldn't be able to run it good. But I put this call in and it runs good. So it's just a matter of finding the material. You've got prophylactic and you've got latex reeds. There's different styles and there's different cuts, and the calls are different sizes. There's so many differences with each call. There's in between brands. Woodhaven varies with a Ghost Cut or a V Cut or a bat wing. It does. There's so many different cuts and variations to each call, and I think the main thing is find the call that fits your mouth. And then I've seen Michael Waddell and Troy Ruiz talk about the high and the low. The high sounds like a kiki. If you can break that off and get the rasp back in, you put them together and blow from your diaphragm. Every time I call, you'll see my chest jumping because I'm blowing from my stomach. So when I call with a yelp, as you put them together. There's your basic hen yelp. You can variation with sound. You can get quiet. But every yelp's gonna have that high and the low. The hyah, hyah, hyah. You're never gonna hear him yelp like this. It's just more high than low. There's high and then low. It's just as simple as it can be once you get the hang of it. But getting the hang of it is the hard part. And then kind of moving into my favorite type of calling here in a minute, we'll talk about. But yelping is the basic note that you need to know. All right, so now you've learned the yelp. darn spider web. You've learned the yelp. And like I talked about, my favorite call to do, and I think probably is the second most important behind a yelp. Some people would say a cut, but a cut's more of an aggressive call that you'll hear a hen doing, you know, from time to time. If she's really fired up or mad, or I think, but in my opinion, the most important call, and it's a variation of different calls, is soft calling. You know, you can ask Will, you can ask Evan, you can ask anybody that I turkey hunt with a lot. I do soft calling more than I do anything else, because if you ever listen to a hen walk through the woods, she's not walking through the woods just all the time. She never will do that. If she's looking for a gobbler, that's a different story. But if you listen to a hen walk through the woods, she's going to be constantly making some sort of noise. And most of the time, it's clucking and purring, a little bit of whining, some soft yelps. 9 times out of 10, a turkey's always making some sort of noise. Whether it's walking, it doesn't matter, some type of noise. And my favorite, by far, of any call that turkey hunters make is soft call. And you know, you just put together some clucks, some purrs, some whines, some soft yelping, some scratching in the leaves, some whine, whatever you want to do. Just keep it real quiet. Somebody I seen on TikTok the other day, it's the short game of turkey hunting. So here's a what I call a feeding call, or a soft call, whatever you want to call it. That's your basic turkey feeding, turkey finding a grasshopper, whatever a hen's doing. When she starts doing that, you hear them, they'll start doing that little whiny cut. It's them getting excited. No different from you sitting at the dinner table when you start shouting because the food's ready or something. It's the same type of thing. That's my favorite call to do, and I think the most important, because if you got a bird hung up at 70 yards and he needs to come to you, you're content, that hen's content, she's not leaving, that's your basic call to pull that bird closer. So that's your cluck and purr, and I think, like I said, it's probably the most important call. 2 wood ducks laying right there. I've kind of already talked about the cut, but very rarely will I ever cut at a turkey. If he's got hens, or his hens are doing it, maybe if the bird's really hot, or maybe if he's not hot and he's not got, there's so many possible ways to use a cut, but you've got to be careful with it because it's such an aggressive call. You know, I think, in my opinion, cutting is very unnecessary in certain situations. There's very many situations where you're going to need to use it, but use it when the timing's right. But I'm not the greatest cutter in the world. I'll be the first one to tell you that. So you can kind of throw it in there with a yelp or two or whatever. Like I said, it's just an aggressive call. One that I don't do a lot. One, because I'm not very good at it, but two, just isn't very many situations where you need to call in a turkey by cutting. If you need him to gobble or something, you know, he's a good ways off, yeah, that's a different story. But I feel like cutting is one of the more unnecessary calls that you need to know as a turkey hunter. So you got kind of more of your cluck, which is just a single note, just a more times than not, I won't do that because it sounds so much like a putt in some situations. I'll do more of a bubble cluck, which is it's more of a bubble cluck where a hen's feeding or she's content, she's happy. You'll hear a lot more Merriams and Rios doing that than you would Eastern, but you still will hear Easterns doing it, and it's still a really good call. like I said, I'm more of a soft caller. I'm not gonna blow the reeds out of my call, so that little bubble cluck is something I'll use more than a normal cluck, if you will. But you've got your fighting purr, your fighting call, which this is maybe to break a gobbler off again that's hung up. Maybe trying to reap one and he won't come in all the way. This is something you can do. Or if you shoot and your buddy's got a gun and there's 2 birds or whatever, one left, this is something you can try to bring them back with. And that's just your 2 turkeys fighting or whatever you're gonna call it. Like I said, I'm not an expert caller by no means. I have a long way to go to be good at turkey calling, but and then you got your, this is a controversial thing. I personally have heard a hen several times kiki in the springtime. Some people say kikis are only made during the fall, but knowing what I know, I have seen in person, I've seen hens kiki and kiki run, and I've also seen on videos hens kiki and run late in the season. Like right now, it's like April 20 something, but I've seen hens do it, like I said, all the way through May before. So your kiki is just we already talked about, it's the high of your call, and if you hear a hen, a kiki is a 3-note. It's kind of like a yelp, but it's so a kiki is. And your kiki run is just, a kiki and then a yelp at the end. That's where a hen is trying to gather her flock. As a kiki. Where's your kiki run? And then you got another fall call, which is an assembly yelp, which is a hen. She yelps forever trying to get a loud noise across to find her flock, which is just a. She'll listen. She'll try to find or listen for a kiki or another turkey or whatever. Like I said, an assembly yelp's more of a fall call for sure. Like kiki I have seen in the spring, but assembly yelp. And then like you've got an excited hen yelp, which you hear in the spring, which is a hen. She's looking for a gobbler. She's heard a gobbler and she's calling back to him, and that's just a. It's not as long as an assembly yelp, but it's still loud and very raspy, and she's just trying her best to get that turkey to come to her or to hear that turkey again, whatever. She's just yelping as loud as she can. But that's really the only calls that I can think of off the top of my head that you need. You can throw in I guess a fly down cackle, but I can tell you I ain't good enough to do a fly down cackle. As you could tell by my cutting, I can't cut fast enough consistently to do it in the woods, and that's a big part of turkey calling, is knowing when to do certain things that you can do and when to do certain things you can't. If you can't cut good, don't try to cut at a turkey that's content and coming and happy. Don't cut at turkeys when you don't know how to. And I'll be the first one to tell you, like I said, I'm not great at cutting. I don't cut at turkeys very often. I mainly yelp and I'll soft call. Unless I've got a bird that's ain't acting right or he ain't gobbling much, and I'll cut at him. But very, very rarely do I cut at a turkey. You may hear me in videos, I'll. But that's still quiet. It's not, and I can do that and control that much better, because when I cut, my problem is I'm trying to blow from my lips and my mouth. So I'm not good enough to be able to cut and make it sound realistic by blowing through my diaphragm. But anyways, like I said, not an expert turkey caller by no means, but those are some things I wish I would have knew sooner as a younger kid. The main thing is just practice. I see a lot of people, they'll just go out in the woods come March or whenever your season starts, and they'll throw a call in and just start calling, and it don't sound as good, but that's just because you don't practice. You know, I practice 24/7. You know, mainly right before turkey season gets here. Like in January, I'll really start calling a lot. And like I said, it's muscle memory. Once you get the feeling of blowing the air through your diaphragm and blowing air across the cut in the call, you're gonna get that perfect pitch. And like I said, it's muscle memory. You will never lose the feeling and lose the intuition as to how to blow this turkey call. So it's no different than a box call. If you call on a box call and get the rhythm, you'll never forget the rhythm. You can change the rhythm, you can alter the rhythm, you can make the noise louder, you can bring it lower, you can add variations when you can cut, yelp, cut, yelp. I mean, there's so many variations of turkey calling that you can do, but those are the basics. Those are kind of what I think the quintessentials. That was a big word. I don't know if I said that right. The quintessential. Those are the quintessential turkey calls that are important for a spring turkey hunter to learn, and how to use and how to utilize and how to call. I think the most important, like I said, is just a soft yelp that a hen makes. It's just a and that's the basic call right there. So if you can learn how to yelp and soft call, that's all you need to learn how to do. You'll kill every turkey in the woods by just doing that. So hopefully you learned something. Like I said, not the best by no means. I'm not Dave Owens. I'm not Matt Van Sice. I'm not Jesse Martin by no means. But I do try to be them. Like, I try to call good. I try to work on it as much as I can to be good like that, because it's important to learn how to call. The better you can call, the more realistic you sound, the easier it is to kill turkeys. And I've learned that over the past 2 years. As my calling has progressed, so has my turkey hunting. My turkey hunting skill has progressed. So anyways, that's kind of the ins and outs of basic turkey calling from an amateur. So hope you learned something.